Joining me now to discuss this and more is one of the Democrats on the January 6th Select Committee, Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida. And Congresswoman, thank you for being here. Let's start right here. What's your reaction to this news? The Speaker's rejecting these two picks.
Well, Garrett, it's great to be with you. I think that it's a reflection of how serious she takes this Select Committee. It needs to be a committee that is committed to finding the truth and the facts around January 6th, which was a domestic attack on the Capitol and on our democratic processes. We need to know who organized it, how they paid for it, and then we need to figure out ways to ensure that this doesn't happen again. The fact that she has rejected two recommendations for two members who have indicated that they are not supportive of the objective of the Select Committee is consistent with how serious this committee is and how important it is to have patriots serving on this committee, not partisans.
Do you have any insight into by what criteria she made this decision?
Well, she has said that it is not a prerequisite to have certified the election in order to serve on this committee. And as you will see, she is willing to appoint one of the members who didn't vote to certify the election to the Select Committee. But I do think that it's important that the people who serve on this committee are committed to the objectives and the goals and are willing to work in an apolitical way to get to the ground truth on what happened on January 6th. And when I look at somebody like Jim Jordan, there has been nothing that he's been involved in that hasn't been a political circus. And when it comes to the Select Committee, the American people deserve better than that.
Congresswoman, Republicans have said since the moment this committee was formed that it is purely political and that it is just a creation by Speaker Pelosi to do what Speaker Pelosi wants. How is this not a messaging gift to Kevin McCarthy that Speaker Pelosi is doing exactly what Speaker Pelosi wants in choosing who can be on this committee?
To be clear, we gave the Republicans every opportunity to have an independent commission take a clear-eyed look at the January 6th event. We are in the situation of having a Select Committee because the Republicans at every turn rejected the notion of getting to the bottom of what happened on January 6th. And I think that Speaker Pelosi is ensuring the integrity of this committee by ensuring that the people who serve on it, Republicans or Democrats, are committed to the goals and are committed to their country, not to their political party.
Jake Sherman of Punchbowl News is reporting, and NBC News has not confirmed this, so we'll put a note of caution on it, that Minority Leader McCarthy is going to pull his picks. He's not going to submit any Republican choices to be on this committee. Does it damage the credibility of the work you're intending to do if the other side has said this is too political and we're not going to participate?
Well, that would be severely disappointing if that's what McCarthy decides to do, but also on brand. He's not wanted to have this committee from the start, so him playing political games with it is no surprise. But the reality is that our committee, even without the 5 that he appoints or selects, is still bipartisan, and we are still going to move forward to execute our duties to get to the truth around January 6th.
I've talked to a lot of members of the committee who've praised the work that Congresswoman Cheney has done on the committee for the work itself, but the political implications of having a Republican on this committee seem a lot more important now. I want to ask you about the hearing itself on Tuesday. We now know that the witnesses, we don't yet know who's going to be asking the questions, but we know who the witnesses will be. The witnesses will include 2 Capitol Police officers and 2 Metropolitan, that's Washington, D.C. police officers. What's the goal you'd like to achieve on Tuesday? Is it merely to set kind of a factual floor for what happened on that day?
Our objective with all of these hearings will be to set the facts out there for the public to understand. But I think it's critically important to start with law enforcement because at the end of the day, they were as much victims of the attack on the Capitol as any of the members of Congress or the vice president. And so they were on the front lines. They heard the things that the folks who were trying to attack the Capitol were saying. They can share with us what kind of preparedness they were given in order to come into work on January 6th. And so that will be hugely important for us to understand, and I look forward to their testimony.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the action on the other chamber today, the Senate vote on this bipartisan infrastructure package, or at least to start debating it. Should this vote fall apart, and should everything that's in that hard infrastructure package make its way into the Democratic-only reconciliation bill, you're talking about upwards of $4 trillion in spending. As a blue dog Democrat, one of the more moderate Democrats, would you be comfortable voting for a $4 trillion plus spending plan to get all of those administration and Democratic priorities across the finish line?
Well, I'm still optimistic regarding the bipartisan infrastructure plan. The American people know that we need to make significant investments into our roads and bridges and broadband. And that bipartisan infrastructure plan still has an opportunity, regardless of what happens today on this particular vote, procedural vote in the Senate. And I know that the senators are committed to continuing to work on it until we can get that across the finish line. And then once I believe that our priority is to get the bipartisan bill signed into law by President Biden, and then we can have the family conversations around what belongs in the reconciliation bill.
Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, thank you for joining us on what is suddenly a very busy news day. We're going to continue to follow